I stood at the edge of our driveway, staring at the house we built together, only to find out it was no longer mine. My husband, Jackson, had secretly transferred it to his sister behind my back. What he didn't know was, I had something far more powerful than a deed. My name is Vanessa Clark, and I once believed that love could weather any storm. Jackson and I had been married for 7 years, built a life brick by brick, and I thought we were solid, unshakable. We had dreams, a thriving business together, and a home in the quiet suburbs of Atlanta, Georgia. From the outside, everything looked perfect. But behind closed doors, betrayal was simmering like a pot ready to boil over. It started small. Missed calls, secretive texts, and the way Jackson began locking his phone like he was guarding a national secret. I noticed the change but told myself it was work stress. After all, we co-owned a real estate business. Deals, clients, deadlines, they could make anyone edgy. But then came the late nights. The whispered calls in the garage. And worst of all, the way he stopped looking at me like I mattered. One Thursday morning, I got a call from our accountant, Linda Myers. "Vanessa, did you authorize the title transfer of the Riverwood property?" she asked, her tone cautious. My stomach dropped. "What transfer?" "The house. It's now under your sister-in-law's name, Madison Clark." I couldn't breathe. That was my house. Our house. The one I picked out, designed, decorated. The place where I thought we'd grow old. I didn't confront Jackson right away. Instead, I drove to the county records office to confirm it. And there it was, plain as day. Property ownership transferred to Madison Clark. The signature? Jackson's. The betrayal was sharp but not surprising. I think part of me knew. Jackson had been planning this. Slowly pushing me out of the business, making me feel small, and now this. But what he didn't realize was that I had my own quiet plan. For months I'd been gathering proof. Of his affairs, shady business dealings, and something even more damning, forged documents filed under our company's name. He thought I'd walk away with nothing. But I wasn't built to break. That night I opened my laptop, pulled up the folder labeled Justice, and sent everything I had to my lawyer, Claire Wren. Emails, texts, bank records, client statements. I had receipts. And one document, one forged contract, that would make Jackson wish he'd never crossed me. The next morning I walked into our office like I owned the place, because technically I still did. Half of everything was mine, and I wasn't about to leave quietly. "Vanessa," Jackson said, startled to see me. "I didn't expect you in today." "Clearly," I smiled. "We need to talk." He looked nervous. "Good. You really thought transferring the house to your sister would stop me?" He froze. "I know everything, Jackson. The fake clients. The double books. The offshore account. I even know about Savannah." His jaw clenched. "You don't know what you're talking about." I leaned in, voice calm. Then explained the $50,000 deposit made last month from the Cayman account to Savannah's name. "I've got the statements. And the emails. Want to see them?" He didn't answer. "I'm giving you one chance," I said. "Transfer the house back to me. Sign over your share of the company. Or we go to court. And I promise you won't walk out with a penny or a reputation." He laughed. "You wouldn't dare." I slid the flash drive across his desk. "This is going to the district attorney if you refuse." The color drained from his face. "You underestimated me, Jackson. I wasn't just your wife. I was the backbone of this company. I know every deal you ever made. Every lie you ever told." He sat down, suddenly silent. "Claire will be in touch," I said, turning to leave. "And next time you try to erase me, remember? I write the ending." I stared at the empty closet. Not a single shirt, jacket, or even a pair of socks. He didn't just leave me, he erased me. After Jacob left that morning, not saying a word about his betrayal, I began to walk through the house like a stranger. Every picture of us was gone. The wedding photos, the vacation frames from Hawaii, the silly Polaroids from our first apartment gone. Just me, standing in a house that suddenly felt like someone else's. And maybe it was, because legally it was no longer mine. I didn't cry. Not right away. I think my body was too shocked, too cold. But eventually the tears came like waves. I dropped to my knees in the living room, curled up on the soft rug I had picked out from a boutique in Seattle. And I cried. For hours. But crying wasn't going to change anything. I needed answers. And more than that, I needed a plan. I started digging. First, I pulled out our old joint tax returns. I still had digital access to all of them. From the first year of our marriage to the most recent filing, everything was there. Jacob was smart, but not that smart. He had never bothered to change the passwords on our shared Dropbox folder. That was his first mistake. And inside it, I found the beginning of his paper trail. Asterisk documents signed by both of us on the house originally. Asterisk new property transfer files from 3 months ago, with my signature forged. Asterisk emails to his sister about the perfect timing to move the house into her name. My stomach turned. He forged my signature. My heart raced. Not from heartbreak but from fury. He committed fraud. And he thought he got away with it. I took screenshots, made copies, backed everything up twice. I wasn't just going to confront him, I was going to build a case. And the more I dug, the darker it got. Turns out, the house wasn't the only thing he had been moving behind my back. Jacob had transferred over $75,000 out of our joint account over the last 4 months, spreading it across a series of smaller accounts, most of which were under his sister's name. And then came the company accounts. I had helped him build that business from the ground up. I designed the first logo, wrote the original website content, and handled the first 10 clients personally. But now, he had removed my name from every official company document. I was being scrubbed from the record like I never existed. I sat at the kitchen table, hands trembling, staring at the screen. I could feel that rage boiling again, but this time I didn't cry. This time I smiled. Because Jacob forgot one very important thing. I had access to everything. By the next morning, I had booked a meeting with a lawyer named Amanda Jordan, a specialist in marital fraud, asset concealment, and real estate manipulation. I told her everything, showed her everything, and she sat quietly for a moment before nodding slowly. "You're sitting on a goldmine of evidence," she said. "And he's in deep trouble." Exactly what I needed to hear. We spent the next 3 hours putting together a strategy. Asterisk file a civil lawsuit for forgery and financial fraud. Asterisk demand a full audit of the company finances. Asterisk freeze the shared business accounts pending litigation. Asterisk initiate divorce proceedings with full asset recovery. It was aggressive. But so was Jacob's betrayal. And Amanda assured me, with what I had, we were going to win. But before anything went public, I wanted to watch him squirm. So I waited, played along, answered his calls with a sweet voice, pretended to be confused but forgiving, even agreed to meet for dinner at our favorite restaurant downtown. He showed up wearing his smug smile, thinking I was still heartbroken, desperate, and blind. "I'm glad you reached out," he said, sipping his wine. "Maybe this divorce doesn't have to be messy." "Messy?" I smiled. "Oh, I agree. I'd like to keep it clean. Very clean." He laughed. "See? That's why I always liked you. You don't hold grudges." "Oh, Jacob, I don't hold grudges. I build them." That night, I emailed him a PDF. The subject line, asterisk transfer complete, asterisk. Attached was a formal legal notice. He was being sued. The documents were stamped, notarized, and fully enforceable. And that was just the beginning. Within 48 hours, his accounts were frozen. His company was being audited. His sister was served a subpoena. And me? I finally slept. Not out of peace but satisfaction. He wanted to erase me. Instead, I rewrote the story and he was no longer the hero. I couldn't sleep the night before the hearing. I kept replaying the moment in my head. The look on Jordan's face when the truth would hit him. When his lies would collapse in court like a house of cards. I needed to be sharp, composed, and absolutely undeniable. I reminded myself this wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming my dignity. I arrived early at the courthouse with my lawyer. Her name was Clarissa Daniels, a powerhouse attorney known for her unshakable confidence and her deep knowledge of business law. I trusted her completely. She reviewed every single document with me one last time before we walked in. When Jordan and his sister walked into the courtroom, they looked smug, like they'd already won. Danielle wore a designer blazer and heels that clicked arrogantly on the marble floor. Jordan wore a gray suit and fake charm. He gave me a fake smile. "You don't have to do this," he whispered. I said nothing. just looked him in the eye. The judge entered. The room rose. The game was on. Clarissa started strong. She laid out the timeline how Jordan had transferred our marital property, illegally, while we were still married. She pointed to the business records, showed the rapid change in ownership, and highlighted the bank accounts that had suddenly closed. Jordan's lawyer tried to object, but the judge shut it down. Then came the bombshell. Clarissa pulled out the stack of documents I had recovered. The emails, the text messages, the hidden agreement Jordan had drafted with his sister. There were forged signatures, undisclosed financial assets, a clear plan to leave me with nothing. The judge looked pissed. Jordan turned pale. But we weren't done. I stood up to testify. My voice didn't shake. I told the court how I had supported Jordan from the ground up, how I'd worked double shifts to pay off his business loans, how the house in question was bought with my inheritance. I ended with a line I had practiced for days. He transferred everything to his sister because he thought I was weak. But what he forgot is that I know exactly where he buried the truth. The courtroom was silent. Even Jordan looked like he couldn't breathe. The judge didn't waste time. She ordered a full reversal of the property transfer. The house was restored to my name. She froze the business accounts pending further investigation. She even referred Jordan to the district attorney for potential fraud charges. Danielle tried to protest. I didn't know any of this. But the judge wasn't having it. By the time we left, Jordan's world was crumbling. Outside the courthouse, he tried to talk to me. "You didn't have to ruin me," he said, almost begging. I looked at him one last time. "No, Jordan. You did that yourself." Then I walked away. Today the house is mine again. I remodeled it. I planted new flowers in the front yard. Every time I pull into the driveway I smile, not because of revenge but because I fought back. Jordan's company? Under audit. His name? Ruined. And me? I'm finally free. Because when someone tries to erase you from your own life, the only response is to rewrite the story yourself. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more true stories of justice, betrayal and powerful comebacks.